songs, let me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc, where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
Hoping to just build a community of young professionals, students, and even professionals who are really just new to the industry. Anybody who's sort of coming up in Parks and Rec, so doesn't necessarily have all of the experience yet, doesn't know everybody, doesn't know everything about parks and recreation. Bring everybody together to start helping each other out in whatever way that may be. If it's more helping in life, in your personal life, or navigating your career, navigating career changes or different entry points. We're trying to build a massive community. We got to start small, start somewhere. So just continuing to attract as much as we can professionals.
All right, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. This is our YPN show every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern, all about the young professionals of the Parks and Rec community. And we have our one of our interns, Michael Morrow, who's been manning the ship for the last, I guess, few months now. How long has it been?
It's been about 3.5 months now.
Wow.
So it's been a good time.
Yeah. And then we have a special guest, Luca, from, you're from Fairfax County, Virginia, correct?
Right. Yep. Fairfax County Park Authority in Northern Virginia.
And he's heavily involved with YPN. So we're going to have a great conversation about YPN and what they're doing through NRPA and trying to get the whole country's young professionals more engaged and stuff. So that's going to be a great topic for discussion. But before we get started, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Outdoor Link. They were one of our earliest sponsors that believed in us when we were just a concept practically. And they've been supporting us. They're a company that helps cities become smart cities. So if you're a director or a superintendent in a park system and you'd like to have a smart connected city where you can literally turn your entire city off and on from your cell phone. So imagine you're on vacation with your family on the beach and you get this call late at night or something from an elderly lady that's next to your baseball field and the coach left the lights on. And instead of you having to wake your superintendent up, you can literally go into your iPhone app and turn any baseball field, any water fountain, any splash pad on and off through an iPad. And so this is all part of the Internet of Things. Smart City and Outdoor Link is one of the primary companies that does this for Parks and Recreation. Great company. Shout out to Tasha and Dave Ramirez. Really good crew there. And then I'm also going to play a promotion about how a growing list of vendors are wanting to help us build a media company exclusively for Parks and Rec so that we have our own programming for the entire industry. So I'll play those two promos and then we'll come right back and start our conversation with Michael and Luca.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Update digital displays in real time. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. And even run community or sponsorship campaigns on digital screens. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion Parks and Rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move Parks and Rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.
All right, so this show is going to be a little unscripted. It's going to be me kind of interviewing Michael and Luca, coming from both two different perspectives. So we've got Michael, who was our first intern. He's currently enrolled in college. What's your degree right now?
I'm studying for a major in marketing, like business marketing, and then I have a minor in communications.
Yeah. Okay, so we have college intern Michael that's studying marketing. We are a media company building the first ever full-blown media company, all for Parks and Recreation. And so Luca, on the other hand, is working inside of Parks and Recreation full-time and has dedicated some of his volunteer hours to helping the Young Professionals Network grow and get more engagement and get more college students interested in Parks and Recreation to pursue as a career path and to grow the overall national community of young professionals. And so Luca is trying to attract people exactly like Michael to the industry. And we actually help content creators to create content of any kind. And so Michael's just the right target market for somebody like Luca to raise awareness. And Michael, maybe you can give a little testimony as to how the Daily Parks and Rec Show and your internship has raised your personal awareness around Parks and Rec even existing out there as a career choice.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about it a lot on here if you guys are every week listeners, but like I grew up playing baseball and everything and being at parks constantly. I was one of those kids that was outside all the time. I lived right down the street from a park, so I was always at a park, but growing up, I never realized how much hard work goes into keeping those parks up to date and running efficiently. And then I went into school and I ended up getting an opportunity to join the DPRS network. And it's been such an eye-opener, right? Because I never looked at it that way, but it really is such an essential part to every community. And that's like some of the different advertisements we run talk about how it's an essential piece of a community. And I could not agree even any more because it really is, whether it's going to take a walk at a park down the street or you're going to play sports, right? There's something for everybody in that community within the Parks and Rec. And I never really understood that until I started this. So I think that it's been such an eye-opener doing this internship. But yeah, I'm really grateful for it.
Man, Michael, I got to say something. So a lot of times when you're working on improving a skill, day to day, you're just working on it. You don't really see the improvements that you make over a long period of time. I haven't really heard you speak since some of the early days. And I can tell you have made vast improvements in stage presence and being comfortable at speaking after making all these episodes for the Young Professionals Network. So really great to see that.
It definitely has gotten a lot easier. I definitely agree with that.
All right. So Luca, why don't you, first of all, just kind of introduce yourself and tell us about how you got into Parks and Rec, what you do for Parks and Rec, and then we can go into your whole YPN part of your life and what you're kind of doing for that.
Sure. First, I'll just say I'm excited to be on here. I've always thought about doing a podcast because I can talk for hours and hours about anything, in my opinion. So tell me if you get bored of me talking. But I started with actually the Fairfax County Park Authority when I was 15. And I worked as a lifeguard at our outdoor water park that we have. I really wanted to work indoors with air conditioning as a cashier, but those positions fill up quick. But it turned out to be one of the best sort of unfortunate events at that time. But becoming a lifeguard was awesome. I worked at the outdoor water park there for a while, became a supervisor, scheduling manager, hiring manager, and then during COVID came into the HR department of our organization. So administered COVID leave for a little while. And then it was, finally time we had to reopen our parks. We saw how much of an asset they were to the community, how people were using them, even though we tried to, sort of close them to keep everybody safe when people were staying home. And we had to reopen all of our parks. The majority of our workforce is about 2,000 to 3,000 at peak part-time and seasonal employees. The demographics of that group is a lot of high school and college students, as well as retirees and sort of career changers and such. But we had to figure out how we were going to attract all these staff back to the organization. And that's sort of when my role was created, to figure out how we're going to find this many people. Each summer we hire 1,000 staff. How are we going to find them, retain them, and things like that. So for the past 5 years, I've been HR, leading some of those initiatives, more of the talent acquisition and recruiting strategies, and trying to build our awareness. One thing, Michael, you mentioned is, as a college student, we're not really, I would say, a household brand sometimes. Like, we're not the big four. We're not, going to work for United, something like that. But that's what we need to become. We need to build awareness about Parks and Rec as a career opportunity. So we do such a good job of building awareness as a community asset, but how do we sort of swap the narrative? And we're also one of the largest employers in a lot of areas. And how do we attract people to come work for us?
Yeah, and for those that aren't familiar with general Parks and Rec department sizes, Fairfax is one of the largest, if not the largest in the country, with 1.2 million people that are kind of take advantage of the park system that y'all run and operate. And most park systems are within like 50, 75 is a little bit larger one. 200 or 300 is a pretty big one. So sitting at 1 to 3,000 is massive. And is there anything else you can kind of tell us about Fairfax County so that people kind of get an understanding of the department you work for?
Sure. We're a large county right outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. We serve about 1.2 million people. We have about 3,000 part-time and seasonal staff and close to little over 550 full-time staff members as well. We are sort of operated as a kind of a little city where we do a little bit of everything, not necessarily just of the Parks and Rec. When you think of like camp counselors and lifeguards, we have project managers and engineers. We have an entire marketing and communications department. We have an HR team, a finance team. We have a GIS group. We have ecologists. We have historians. We run nature and historic sites and rec centers and outdoor water parks. We have the last working farm in the county. We have literally anything you can think of. When I tell this to job seekers all the time, what do you want to do? And I'll tell you what we have for you. So if you want to work in social media, we have a social media manager. We have, you really want to be a landscape architect, we have it. So we do everything from the planning to the building, and then operating the programs, generating revenue, offering various community events, special events, things like that. A little bit of everything. It's a big operation here.
All right. So just so that what I'd like y'all to do is, as we kind of run this show, if Luca, if you have a question for Michael or me, we're just doing like stream of consciousness. So during conversation, if there's something that kind of you want to dig a little deeper or ask Michael to say a little bit more, just kind of hop in. Same thing with you, Michael, for me or Luca. I'm interested to know how you got into recruitment, because, by the way, that would be a great position that you would hold with YPN, because this is what you do full time for your job. How did you get into recruiting people? That seems like a very specific skill set.
Yeah, good question. I've always been sort of a people person. I think I try to focus on what others can relate to and how I can relate to them to sort of build that initial connection, and then start digging into the jobs available and different benefits of working with the park authority and things like that. But it sort of just happened, to be honest. I'm very lucky to work for the Park Authority, that they sort of picked me up from the Water Mine, which is our outdoor water park, when COVID happened. It was part of a job reassignment. So at that point, I was administering leave, doing more of the payroll. And then we had a need, and I had been responsible for hiring about 200 lifeguards at the Water Mine. So they asked me to help you do the same thing on a much larger scale, though. So staffing our golf courses, the rec centers, the nature centers, historic sites, all of our operations when we reopened after COVID. And I've gone through high school, university while I've worked here. I'm still a young professional myself, so I'm 23, so I graduated recently, but have been on this team for, I guess, almost 7 years with the agency now. But I just kind of fell into it, and I love it. It's definitely a job that you really have to enjoy. You can't send everybody out to a university or a career fair and say, hey, go find people, because if you just stand there all day, you're never going to find anybody. So you really have to have kind of the personality and more of the soft skills, in addition to the technical skills to do it.
Yeah.
Where did those soft skills come from? Were you always, and I kind of go back and forth between, is this more of a environment you grew up in, or were you born this way? Because it's so hard sometimes to teach networking skills, social skills. Like, it seems like there's always that little kid on the playground that just organized a game of tag or chase or something, that just did it naturally. And I'm wondering where you got that from. Were you like this when you were a child, or just something you picked up along the way?
I think it's a mix of, it's kind of like a lot of times with leadership, people will ask, can you be taught it? Or, are you just born naturally as a leader? And I think it's really a mix. Same things for these kind of soft skills and personality. I definitely have always been, more outgoing, talking to people, going on random side quests, doing things on my own, and just figuring out along the way. I've definitely had to learn, though, to match other people's energy. So I think you need some of that emotional intelligence as well. And not everybody is the same. So if I can pick up on that, you're not talking at the same speed or as loud or whatever, it needs to be a little calmer. You have to be able to kind of match that to bring people in and to make them feel like they can talk to you and keep it sort of authentic. So I think I was very social in elementary, middle school, high school. So I think it's a mix of born with it, and then you just kind of keep rolling.
Yeah.
This is actually something me and Aiden talked about on the last show. Was like, what are some of the traits that probably that flourish within Parks and Rec? And that was the main one that we came up with, was being personable, because at the end of the day, you're working for a community. So being able to be personable within the community is probably like one of the biggest things, just from my perspective looking in from the outside. But it's funny that came up, because that is exactly what we talked about last week on the show.
Yeah. And maybe we can all three talk about this, but here's a question for all three of us. What are some of the tricks that you've learned over the years to network? Let's say you're going to a party, or you're throwing a party and trying to get people to show up, or you're at a networking event and you show up and your job is to just leave there with 20 people that you've never met before, their contacts, and establish that communication. Let's see, Luca, why don't you go first, and then Michael?
Sure. I think it's easier for me as, more of an extrovert. I'll go and walk up to somebody and ask them a question that I've been dying to know, or just say hi or something. But recognizing not everybody's like that, I think it takes a lot of determination. So you really have to prepare yourself. What's your goal going to this event? Do you want to make those connections? Who do you want it to be? If you understand that you're not someone like me who I'll walk up to whoever, or I'll be in a group, you can come up and talk to me. You need to be a little more intentional. Who's that, one or two people you really want to get to know, practice what you're going to talk about. What's, something that you may have in common with somebody else that you're willing to share. And you just have to go for it, kind of. It's tough, though, and it's not for everybody. I think if you can go with somebody who is more familiar with the people in the group, or who is a little more outgoing than you, that can help. But it's tough. It's hard. I see it all the time with especially students and young professionals trying to build those connections, and they don't necessarily have that foot in already with somebody they know, or they're not as outgoing. You got to really build it up.
Michael?
I think that something that I've learned as like a little trick, just to like get your foot in the door so it's not an awkward conversation at first, is just understand that people like to talk about themselves, right? It's the easiest thing for people to talk about. So I like to sometimes just ask simple questions about them that get them kind of going. And then the conversation isn't awkward and you're not at standstills randomly and stuff like that. You kind of build a little bit of relationship and learn about the person. And I think that that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned through networking is like people like to talk about themselves and it's easy to talk about themselves. So it's like such an easy thing to do is just to ask them about themselves. And that's an easy way to get your foot in the door there. And I think that that would probably be my recommendation.
Yeah, that was actually one of my follow-on questions is icebreaker questions. You know, what are some of the questions that you might use? I remember a close friend of mine, he actually was a business mentor of mine, Mr. Paul Burns. He had a big company and he always used to tell me, Craig, life is a contact sport. It's who you know, and you need to be always networking and building your contacts because you never know the next person you meet could be the next great business deal, your next great employer, next great employee. And so he always pushed me to constantly be networking and eating with strangers, like never eat lunch alone and eat with people you don't know and getting to know people. But what are some of the icebreaker questions that y'all have kind of used as you're networking? Michael, why don't you go first and then Luca?
I mean, I'm a huge sports fan, so an easy one for me breaking in the door is just asking them if they watch any sports. Because I love sports. I could talk about sports all day. So, yeah, definitely sports. Anything related to sports is what I would go with.
Okay.
I would say it has to be something that I also care about because sometimes it can be hard to listen to somebody go on and on about something you're not super interested in. So I'll usually go for something, maybe around traveling or, something fun that I may be doing or want to, learn to do that I can actually engage in and build an authentic conversation around.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like anything in life, there's parts of life that you can access by yourself. But of some of the most exciting parts of life, especially a lot of the difficult things you try to do can only be done by teams of people because it's such a heavy lift that there's no way you could run Fairfax County with one man. It takes thousands of people to do it. And so it really is a necessity to do massive tasks to recruit talent and get people interested in whatever mission that you're on. One of the questions I like to ask is, let's say I'm walking into a party of total strangers. I don't know anybody there. I just start walking up to people and say, how did you get involved in this? And that kind of starts the conversation. And from there, I look at what do we have? And as they start talking, I'm looking for common ground. As they describe their life or, where they came from, how they got involved, I'm looking for, they play football, I play football. They come from a big family. I come from a big family. They know nothing about Parks and Rec. I don't even know how I got invited to this. I'm kind of the same thing, whatever. You just find something you'll have in common, and that way you build connection there. Any other thoughts around icebreaker questions?
Not really. You kind of hit it on the nail there. Just finding common ground. It's like the main thing, and just being able to go off of that.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I would say, especially for younger professionals or people new to networking, it's likely that the person you're going up to has a lot more experience, trying to build small talk or doing this. So don't be super nervous. Like if you don't have the perfect question just still go up and say hi and, start that. Nobody's going to, unless they're really just, not a very nice person, is going to stand there and not reply to you. You can build it. So, just go. However you're going to do it, just go up and talk to people.
Yeah, I have a great question that another mentor of mine taught. He says, what do you do when you're not doing? So when you're not working at Fairfax County, what do you do for fun? What do you do just to relax? And so I'll ask each of y'all that question. Is there something that you're just passionate about that you feel like you could talk about forever? What subject would that be? Michael, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I think it would have to be sports. I just love, I'm from the Philly area, so the Birds are going into the playoffs this week. So fired up for that, but just sports in general, right? I do everything from anything outdoors pretty much. I go hunting, I do fishing, I played baseball my entire life. I go snowboarding in the winter. I play sports outside of my friends still, and I'm 20. So just sports in general, I would say, is my main hobby outside of work and school.
Nice. Luca?
For me, and I can't do this every time that I'm not working or doing something, but traveling and not just vacationing, but I have a big interest in learning about different cultures and, how other people sort of operate in daily life and interact with each other and things like that. And along with it, my minor was in international business, so more of the intercultural communication and management and understanding how different people work and live their life. So I take that into my real life and learning different languages and different things like that. So that would be mine.
What's your favorite culture out there that maybe people aren't familiar with that you found?
I wouldn't say that they're not familiar with it, but I spent a summer in France for like a school program, and just understanding kind of the history that influenced culture. So I stayed in northern France, and it is an area that went from ownership from German ownership and French and German and French, and it actually went back and forth a couple of times. So just talking to people who have lived there for most of their life or were born there and their family, and just asking questions like, so do you speak French or do you speak German? What side kind of was your family from? What influences did they have? And seeing how it all merges together into one, very unique culture from two different countries. So
Oh yeah, that's cool. I went to France for about a month. I have some family there, but we went to Mont Saint Michel, which is kind of in Normandy, northern France. And it's just, if you haven't been, by the way, have y'all seen Lord of the Rings, the trilogy?
I've never seen it there.
Okay, well, there's it's a great book written by J.R. Tolkien, one of the greatest, I guess, epic stories ever. And then they created this massive trip. It's like The Hobbit, and it's just a great little storyline. But at the end, there's a big like mountain castle city called Minas Tirith, and it's like a gorgeous. Like they did a great job, and he got the founder or the writer J.R. Tolkien got his inspiration from Mont Saint Michel. And so if you haven't seen it, it's a real life place that you can go, and it's like this island city out right off the coast of Normandy. It's beautiful. It's one of the most visited places I think in the world. I think it's number 4. But all right, so why don't we dive a little into YPN? Maybe you can just describe to us, Luca, what is YPN for someone who's never heard of it as far as NRPA is concerned?
Sure. So it's the Young Professional Network. We're hoping to just build a community of young professionals, students, and even professionals who are really just new to the industry. Anybody who's sort of coming up in Parks and Rec, so doesn't necessarily have all of the experience yet, doesn't know everybody, doesn't know everything about Parks and Recreation, and bring everybody together to start helping each other out in whatever way that may be. If it's more helping in life, in your personal life, or navigating your career, navigating career changes or different entry points, and also just building this network of professionals who can, hey, you got a job? Yeah, let me tell you about this job. Or, oh, you need help implementing this program? We did that 2 months ago. Let me tell you exactly how we did it. So just we're trying to build a massive community. You got to start small, start somewhere. So just continuing to attract as much as we can professionals. More, my perspective of it is I would like to see a lot more students and much younger people start to learn about Parks and Rec as a career opportunity. So I think there's a good right now, if you are already in Parks and Rec and a young professional, you kind of know about the network, or you at least know that you could join it. I think what's going to be most important for the industry, especially as we're navigating different workforce challenges, workforce shortages, succession planning concerns, whatever it may be, is attracting the next generation. So the people who have no idea about Parks and Rec. And I think that those are the people who, if they join this organization, will really have, the biggest impact on it moving forward. And we'll already have in place some of those still young professionals, but in the industry, a little more experienced, more mature, to help them and guide them along the way, as they go through. I'm talking about even high schoolers who haven't gone to school yet, it, are deciding if they want to pursue college, trades, or go right into the workforce, get them engaged early, and then they're part of this group and they already have that network in the community there.
Luca, you gave me an idea. We may want to start something called the Young Professionals Network, or like the Y squared.
Right, exactly.
Because the numbers that I've seen are there's roughly about 350,000 employees, full-time employees for Parks and Recreation nationwide. But you could probably 4x that number. It's probably 1.2 million are part-timers. These are the lifeguards, the camp counselors, the concession stand workers, special events workers. It's a massive population. And I see the Young Professional Network really not even starting till you're a full-time employee. And I think they could almost host their own weekly show, but it would be just high schoolers. And I've seen, just in content creation, I've seen a lot of young kids that are starting their own YouTube channels and stuff. And so maybe that would be something we could help to launch, because that is a much larger population and they're a great first natural fit because they're already in Parks and Rec. They're already spending their summers and lifeguarding and stuff. So maybe that's something we can help organize.
Yeah, and I think it can be that simple too. Just getting kind of the idea in their head. They are already park users sometimes, or users of our programs and participants and stuff. So how do you also add to your messaging when you're trying to get new customers that this is a career opportunity? And I think that's what is really important here.
Now, y'all said y'all'd like to get more college students. So, and maybe we can find a question here for Michael about what would attract him as a current college student. What is y'all's kind of plan or thought or mission or vision around how do we get more students that are currently enrolled in college to be more active or maybe be more aware of Parks and Recreation and the YPN network?
Sure. I'll give one example for VRPS, so Virginia Recreation and Park Association. I'm part of their Young Professional Network as well. And what they offer is a student membership and a student day during our state association conference. So you can actually join for free. You can come to the conference for a discounted rate, and we have different programming for students. So different sessions for them to go to, a networking opportunity specific to the current college and university students. And we're working to build some of those partnerships with the universities so that we are already attracting those students. But I think that's an awesome opportunity. There's another sort of downside though, is a lot of those students are already in Park and Rec programs. So again, that's not necessarily accomplishing what my goal is, which is getting this out as it's a career before people even know about it. So it's awesome to attract them and keep them engaged within the community. And we 100% want that. We want them to continue with their degree and their studies in Parks and Rec and move forward, get a job with the Park and Rec agency. But I think that we need to go, again, one step beyond that and educate people who are in different disciplines and studying or not studying at all, that we still have opportunities for you. I studied business management and I work in Parks and Rec and I still love it. And we have people who are engineers and all of this. So you don't necessarily need to be in that program. We still want to attract people to those Park and Rec programs. But one step beyond, I think, is really what will get us new eyes on the field and new people into it.
I think if I go, I think that like my goal with this internship and with the podcast has been just to have people like myself that never thought about it or had any idea to listen to it for a minute. And if they listen to it for a minute, I think that it just brings awareness to it and really shows people that there is a way to stay within sports or stay outside or do anything like that within your professional career. And I think that like coming into this, I had no idea about it. And when we had our first guest on and I listened to them talk the whole time and just really took it all in, like you realize that like Parks and Rec would be an awesome career path. And I think that my goal with this was to just have somebody that never listened to it, right? I have all my friends on LinkedIn and everything, and I would repost it, and just if one of them listened to it for a minute and just listened to something that caught their ear, caught their eye or anything, then I think that was my biggest goal. because I think that it is something that people just don't know about enough in my like within college and stuff like that. So I think you're right with that.
Yeah.
Just getting exposure.
All right, so we're kind of at the halfway point. So we're going to play 2 promos, and it's going to be our YPN promo, which Aiden and Michael made with Jovi. So they did a really good job designing this one. But we're also going to play, so we're launching, and y'all are going to love this one, but it's called The Athlete's Commute with our co-host, Jordan Ziff. She is a former professional female soccer player that played at the highest level with Brazil. And they take soccer to a whole nother level in Brazil and South America. But she actually has a great concept where imagine your favorite pro soccer athlete or female athlete, you get to go behind the scenes on their car ride to the next game or to the next practice and how they prepare. So it's kind of like a backstage, real in-person, unscripted backstage pass. And she has these great conversations in her car. So she does the whole thing while driving. She's got cameras and stuff set up, and she's driving down the road and asking them all about what it's like to be a pro athlete. So we'll play these 2 promos, and then we'll chat about them when we get right back.
Before the game, before the lights, before the pressure, there's a moment most people never see. Welcome to The Athlete's Commute, a podcast distributed by DPRS Media Network, co-produced by Her Sports, and hosted by Jordan Ziff. Each episode, Jordan gets behind the wheel, driving athletes to practice, to training, to game day, while getting to know who they really are beyond the jersey. The mindset, the grind, the sacrifices, the moments no one talks about. No scripts, no filters, just real conversations in real motion. Because every athlete has a journey, and every journey deserves to be heard. This is The Athlete's Commute. Buckle up.
On the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we bring you the real stories of tomorrow's professionals, people shaping the future, one idea at a time. Meet the very first DPRS interns to officially host their own segment, Aiden Tierney and Michael Morrow. With curiosity, passion, and a fresh perspective, they're stepping into the spotlight to lead meaningful conversations with today's rising leaders. The Young Professionals Network takes you inside the journeys, challenges, and major wins of young individuals making their mark across industries. From first jobs to bold ventures, every story fuels growth, ambition, and innovation. Each episode brings real conversations, fresh perspectives, and impactful insights created to motivate the next generation of professionals. Whether you're just starting out, exploring new paths, or figuring out your next move. Tune in to the Young Professionals Network every Thursday at 5 p.m. only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Don't miss it, because your next big idea might be one story away.
All right, so any comments from either of y'all on either of those?
Yeah, I think that the athletes one is awesome. It's just kind of finding like something that'll catch their eyes, like you said, with like the car rides and everything. Like that's something so original that nobody thinks about. So I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah. Luca?
That's not what I was expecting when you were kind of pre-explaining what was going to play. So that's really awesome and cool. And same thing for the Young Professionals Network sessions and live streams. I think that everybody, should just start listening. Even if you listen to one or two and try to get into it, I think there's very valuable insights from the people who come on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, Luca, if you're interested, so we do 52 shows a year, once a week, and we're making content for the YPN network. That's the kind of the general umbrella. But as you can see, there's so many directions you can take it, whether you're working with, and maybe you can help me define this, but when I think of YPN, I think of 5 buckets of people. The first bucket is that really young group, the high schoolers that are part-timers that are working literally on Parks and Rec property, like 1.2 million of them nationwide, that this is their first maybe summer job ever. So that's group number one. Group number 2 is like Michael and Aiden. These are college students that are somehow tied to, or maybe they just want to help learn how to make content and media, or they have a marketing degree and they want to help us create the YPN show, or they actually want to go into, they already know they want to go into Parks and Rec. So that's our second group. Our third group is like Luca. I just graduated. I just started. I'm very new to this industry. That's like group number 3. And I think that's the primary group right now. And we're actually live real time having conversations about how do we engage those first 2 groups. The third group is this group of like mentors, teachers that either teach a class, a professor that teaches at a university, or just a professional that's maybe wants to share a lot of wisdom and work with young professionals and help get that next generation in. And then our 5th group is departments that have an internship program, that already have a program where they've got like 1 or 2 interns every year or every semester coming through their departments. And so it's kind of like, how do we talk to each of those 5 groups? Luca, am I missing a group? And then maybe help me speak about each one of those and what your thoughts are behind them.
Sure. No, I think that's all of them. I would add to each group, I think, has people in that population who still don't know about it though. So even, you know, the people working with us, they don't know everything that Parks and Rec offers. Definitely the high school and college students. It's such a huge world of different opportunities and just such variety that you can do. So I think it's more than that part-time or seasonal, or even your first full-time job. It's the career that you can have with Parks and Rec. So continuing sort of this lifelong journey within the field of Parks and Rec. But I would definitely love talking about attracting the first and second group, and then I can talk all about internship programs forever and ever too, because they're just so valuable to building the next generation.
Yeah, okay, we definitely want to talk about the internship. But Michael, before we move on to that, do you have anything to add to what Luca said?
No, I think you guys hit it on the head, honestly.
Yeah. All right, so internship programs. What has been your exposure to it, and how has that kind of benefited you? Were you an intern with a Parks and Rec department?
I was not an intern. I did launch our revamped agency-wide internship program, and I've managed it for the past 2 years. So what that is we took some of the sort of ad hoc internship, not even really internship offerings that we had at some of our sites. We have about 9 rec centers, 7 golf courses, many historic sites, a headquarters office. So each group was sort of doing something on their own, but it wasn't really formal. It wasn't as beneficial as it could be. So we took time to see what we were offering, benchmark with other organizations, figure out what the industry best practices were. What does the National Association of Colleges and Employers say we should be doing? You know, how do we run the best internship program that we possibly can? And what came out of that is an agency-wide program that we offer 40 paid internships each session. So we do kind of a spring, summer, fall sessions. We support unlimited unpaid internships if somebody's getting college credit and they really can't be paid, or whatever other reason there may be. We welcome everybody from high schoolers to college students to career changers. So that's something intentional we did. We want to make sure that really anybody interested in getting into a Park and Rec organization and getting experience with us would be able to access our internship program. And that's why the paid program is intentional as well, to make sure that people who can't do a free internship, it's a little bit more equitable. They still have the opportunity to get this valuable experience, which isn't something that's happened historically. You sort of had to be privileged enough really to have an internship in the past and not get paid when you really need to be able to make money. So we ran this for the last couple of years. It's our goal to have an internship opportunity in all areas of our operation. So everything nature, history, finance, HR, IT, park maintenance, everything from plumbing to custodial positions to carpenters, everything that we've got, special events. We have interns who work with camp participants with disabilities and our access and inclusion grants. We have interns with our farmers market. Every opportunity that's possible, we want to put it out there. for the community. And this is really part of our overall talent acquisition strategy. One of our goals is to recruit a workforce that represents the diversity of the community that we serve. Fairfax County is a majority minority, so the majority of people who live here are from a minority, and we're really working hard to build our workforce so it reflects that. And the internship program is definitely one of the top strategies we have for that.
Wow. So after interviewing, doing about 1,200 one-hour interviews, 400 were live recordings, and asking the question, tell me about your internship program. This is the largest internship program I've ever heard of. Most people are like, if they have 2 interns a semester, they're killing it. They're in the top 10 in the country. I can't believe y'all have. So y'all do 40 a year, 40 a semester, or what's?
40 for each of those sessions. So we'll usually max out the summer session with 40 paid interns. Spring and fall is a little bit lighter, just because it's mostly students who are going to school currently, and a couple of those, recent graduates. So right now, I think we have 6 to 8 interns working with us for this sort of semester, and then we're getting ready to launch our ads for the summer, which will be again 40 interns most likely.
So y'all are pushing close to 50-ish, 50, 60 a year coming through your internship program. And how long have y'all been running at that pace, at that size?
So this will be the 3rd year. We ran a pilot a couple years ago, and then last year we ran it full force, and same again this year. So
wow, that's amazing. Okay, so I want to spend the last the back end of our show talking about this age of interest media. And I'll call it interest media because this all started out with, well, I guess with media. If you think about the old newspapers and the news channels, it's just media. And then this thing was born called social media, Facebook. What was the first one before Facebook? MySpace or something like that. This is a long time ago. And now we've got like the short films, Instagram, TikTok, shorts, YouTube shorts, all this kind of stuff. But it's just like an explosion of media being created around whatever you're interested in. So if you're interested in baseball, high school baseball, there's like YouTube channels just on high school baseball, or just on Ford Mustangs, like 67 Ford Mustang. Like there's a YouTube channel on anything you could possibly be interested on. So I'd like to get both of y'all's take, especially Michael, since you're in marketing. What opportunities do you see as what we can create for the industry of parks and recreation using media, kind of like what we're creating right now? And then Luca, you can go after him.
Yeah. So like within school, right, a lot of the talk now is digital marketing, because everything is starting to go digital, right? Everybody's on their phones all the time, or they're on their computers or laptops or anything like that. So the one thing that we talk about all the time is like the short form content, like you were just talking about, like the reels and the YouTube shorts and stuff like that. And just how you only have a couple seconds to grab their attention with any short form content. So that first couple seconds has to be some sort of hook or something like that to keep them engaged in the video, so they do stay for the entire thing and learn a little bit about it. So I think that there's definitely room for any growth in any industry, honestly, with the way that social media works these days. But I think that this could be an awesome thing for Parks and Rec, because there is people out there that want to get engaged with it. And honestly, if something came across somebody's page that has no idea what Parks and Rec is or anything to do with it, if they get caught into that for 1 second, then it just continues to go into their feed and stuff, and it can just be a overload of information to them that could be awesome for them. So I think that just producing that short form content and getting it out as much as you can, and just hoping that it hits those people that younger generation that you're trying to connect with, that's just a great idea.
Yeah. Luca?
We've leveraged social media the past couple of years as a recruiting strategy as well. Facebook, Instagram, X, everything we'd use. More recently, though, Reels, since we don't have a TikTok account. But what we've seen is when we create these sort of fun, behind the scenes, candid videos, they're quick, they're getting the most reach than any of our other posts. Also with the Instagram Reels is they're reaching beyond our current followers, beyond that current audience, which for us, it's not high school, isn't it? It's not college students. That's not who's following us on our Facebook account or on our Instagram account. It's really their parents and grandparents, and moms and dads and other parents and families and stuff. It's not the kids, it's not the students. So we've used Reels, and those have seen, 20,000 views, 30,000 views, much higher engagement than even some of our paid and sponsored ads on Facebook and Instagram. We're also trying to leverage, our current staff and, have them in our videos. Would they be willing to take pictures and stuff for social media versus using, Google Images or stock photos and things like that? Getting the real kind of picture out there for people. And I think LinkedIn too, it's no longer sort of that stuffy platform that used to just be your digital resume. It's really an online and digital community for people. So we're using that a lot as well.
I also want to say about LinkedIn too, that's one of the things that I've gained so much about with the internship too, is using LinkedIn. Because before the internship, I really never used it. It was kind of one of those things that school made me set up, and I never really used it. But throughout the internship, Craig has had us working on it, and there's so much opportunity on there. So I think that also LinkedIn could be amazing for connecting with young people, because there's so many young people on there looking for internships and jobs and anything like that. So I think if we're able to create short form for LinkedIn also, I think that might be the best seller, honestly, because of how many that's what these people are on there for, is looking for opportunities like that. Where Instagram or places like that, sometimes you get into a doom scroll and you're just scrolling through anything. But when you're on LinkedIn, you're kind of looking for that opportunity. So I think that LinkedIn could be an amazing opportunity for young professionals.
Yeah. Yeah, and that really is the power of social media and just the connectivity that with the internet brings us. Is if you had a very small population in your city that was interested in parks and recreation, just because maybe there's only 50 employees in your local city that works in Parks and Rec, and you might be sitting in a city of 25,000 people and only 50 of them work in Parks and Rec. So it's not really a big community. You're not going to find any true global masters. What are the odds that one of those are sitting in your hometown? But when you get online, you can literally get exposed to and see the entire industry nationwide, coast to coast, and meet some of the greatest professionals in that one topic that you're interested in. So that when you create content online about a specific niche market, and then you say want to work in that market, on LinkedIn, you can talk to the people that are pretty much running the entire industry, and you can catch their attention, and then y'all can build a connection. And next thing you know, you can go do an internship over there or get a job over there and have an opportunity that might be on the other side of the country that you would have never found walking around your town, maybe trying to get into that local Parks and Rec department. So I think it's very important for you to network. And LinkedIn is where people go to kind of actually meet professionally. I think Facebook is more of a social, what are you doing with your family?
Yeah.
The other ones might be more entertainment, being silly, maybe educating yourself about, doing yoga or CrossFit or something like that. But LinkedIn, it's like career driven, it's career focused, it's profession focused. And so if you have that profession hat on, LinkedIn is where you can actually get networked and find the professionals running the industry. Luca, you have anything else to add to about LinkedIn?
Just get on there if you're not. I think you're right. Everybody's there. You can learn so much. You can build sort of your online, your digital community. That's how so many people are building those initial connections that are getting them the job. It's such a competitive job market right now, that if just one person recognizes your name and that personal brand that you're building on there, that puts you, so much higher on the list of candidates that they may even consider interviewing and then moving forward with hiring. So in a world of, thousands of people applying for the same job, try to be that one you've already done the legwork, you've built your brand sort of online, your reputation, and you're ready to go when they're hiring.
All right. So I'd like for each of you to talk about hard skills and soft skills. And so let me define those for a second. A hard skill is like Okay, Michael, we're going to run a podcast, and this is the software stack and how do you get on StreamYard, and this is how you distribute, and you got to tweak your resume. What are a couple of hard skills that you had to learn technically off screen to be able to do what you just did? And Luca, you can comment on that as well. And then after that, we can talk about kind of the emotional intelligence, the soft skills that you need to be like stage presence, being able to capture people's attention. We talked earlier about networking and stuff. But Michael, why don't you start on the hard skills?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the hard skills that I've learned from the internship, some of the stuff that school teaches you too, like within like actually like event planning and stuff. That's what me and Aiden talk about. Like that's one of the big things that we've learned throughout this internship too, is like almost like an event planning. Because at the end of the day, when we run this, it's an event almost, if that makes sense. Because it's once a week, and we get on there for that hour, and we have to find our person that's going to come on and talk to us. And that has been a hard skill that I've learned, is like reaching out to these people and getting to the point and inviting them on and finding the person that is okay with coming on and speaking to them. And then another hard skill is just running the entire podcast, you know, like running the media stuff and everything like that. I think that's what I would say are my hard skills that I've taken from this.
Yeah, Luca, what about hard skills that you picked up?
Sure. I think there's so many. It's everything from, you know, being able to use online tools and Microsoft Suite and things like that, and figuring out how to solve problems and you know, just everything. But I think what's really lacking in the market and with people are the soft skills. So I think that's what's really vital to be teaching people. A lot of anyone really who's going through university gets those hard skills, technical writing, you know, how to compose an email, something like that. And there's, you know, less of an emphasis. And I think that kind of is shifting right now. But there's less of an emphasis on the soft skills that are really needed, especially in an industry that's so community focused and community based. And especially for my role, which is a lot of soft skills as well, just interacting with people, having that emotional intelligence, and, you know, being able to communicate and be authentic and present with people is very important right now.
Michael,
one of the things with the soft skills too is like with AI coming into our lives, like even just sometimes like you'll get emails and you can just tell it's from ChatGPT or something like that, and it's like that's like
my new hobby.
Take away soft skills. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's almost like I used to be able to spot AI because it wasn't quite good. It was
right.
I could tell it was a little wonky. Now I spot it by it's too good. There's no way.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
It's like, because you'll see somebody on camera and you hear their you know, how they structure sentences, and then all of a sudden they send you an email and it looks like some master in English and wording, some wordsmith wrote it, and I'm like, okay, that's definitely AI. It was too good. Okay, so let's go ahead and close it out by what are some ideas or things that y'all think we can do if we just want to kind of brainstorm for a second. What can we do this year to grow the YPN network? I asked somebody on our the Military Rec show, which is our newest show, Tuesdays, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, and I want to say they had the head. Maybe she might be in charge of YPN. She's in charge of a couple of things. YPN is like one of the things under her umbrella. And I asked her how many people are in YPN, and I thought the number was on 350. Luca, do you have a number on that nationwide about how many? So exactly. I think it's about 350 young professionals. And I'm like, man, I thought it would have been a lot higher. Maybe not active, but at least emails and stuff. So what are some ideas that we can maybe go from 350, like get a 10X on that, get that to 3,500 in 2026?
I would say we kind of talked about it, but just getting into like Instagram and stuff like that and posting the reels and getting onto the places where there are younger people, right? So like obviously Facebook is not older people, but people that are a little older in age. That's probably not the target market that you're going for. So I think getting onto TikTok and Instagram, posting those short form content, I think that's probably my best idea that I could come up with, but we kind of talked about it. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, Luca.
I think, in my opinion, the way that we're really going to be successful in attracting them is sharing how we'll add value to their life in whatever way that may be. Because if it's, sharing the benefits of the community that you'll have when you join us, the different career opportunities, whatever it is, for recruiting, we have to highlight different things like, this is a job that sometimes makes you feel really good. You do this for the community. That's why people get into it. We're not the highest paying jobs out there. So, what do we do really well? What's something that's so awesome about Parks and Rec, that will relate to different people? And I think that's how we'll really, start to attract them. It's, how are we adding value to you? What can you benefit from us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I've learned to love about Parks and Recreation is oftentimes you don't get to really leave a legacy um, after death till you're retired and you start thinking, how do I give back to the community? But in Parks and Rec, you're making a difference, leaving a legacy, creating an impact in your 20s. And for the next 30 years, you're building your community, you're making a difference, you're reaching out to the kind of marginalized populations. That's what you do for a living, 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then you get to create some of these awesome special events, like think on all of the parades and holiday celebrations, farmers markets. That's literally what you do for a job. And even though I'm trying to reframe this for the industry, even though your starting pay might not be as high as starting pay in another industry, most industries, you show up with your degree, you had to pay for that degree, you have to pay for bettering yourself and getting further certifications. And it's like you're just fighting with a massive headwind trying to grow your professional skill set. Versus Parks and Recreation, they're like encouraging you, paying for you to get better and smarter and more certifications, and they're like encouraging you to take that next leadership opportunity. And so I think you can ascend in skill set acquisition faster in the Parks and Rec community than in almost all other industries. And so maybe your entry level might not pay as well as other entry levels, but you're going to become a more skilled person quicker over a career in Parks and Rec than you would in other industries where you're just fighting a wall of opposition, getting yourself better certified for that industry. Anything else to add on that, Luca?
I would just say, yeah, focusing on some of the non-pay benefits, but also a lot of Park and Rec organizations are government agencies, local or state or whatever it may, federal even. Talk about the different benefits in the long term. These organizations are some of the last with retirement plans. Not that any young professional really knows what that means. I have no idea what I'm getting when I retire from here, but I should, and because that's such a big benefit that people have from working just in local government or government in general.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you that hadn't watched, I know AI and robotics is coming in so quickly. I think that we're entering a world where there's going to be so much abundance created by AI and robotics that I think the positions and jobs that are going to be left for humans to occupy are those that have quality of life. I think Parks and Rec is centered on quality of life. They are like the massive ship inside of that ecosystem. And I think those will still be around for you to just have great life experiences. That's pretty much what Parks and Rec does. It's all about creating great experiences for their local community. Any closing remarks from both of y'all as we wrap up the show?
Last thing I'll throw out there is sort of my call to action to everybody, just because I know it that, as an industry working together and building this community, we can really strengthen the workforce. We can connect all generations of professionals, bring people in, and really ensure that everybody knows that they belong in our parks, but also on our team. So the current users, our current customers, we can all together, build that next generation and I think be very successful when we do that.
Yeah, love it. Michael, any testimony for your internship and why you might want to encourage others to maybe work with us as an internship with DPRS Media Company?
I was just going to say that. I was going to say, like, if there's anybody out there that's listening, you don't even have to know anything about Parks and Rec, right? When I started this 3.5 months ago, I couldn't tell you anything about it, honestly, other than that there was baseball fields and lights and stuff. But now, like, I've learned so much about Parks and Rec and how important it is. And if there's anybody out there that's looking for an internship, reach out to Craig, because I've learned so much about my marketing and everything like that, and Parks and Rec, but also just Craig's been great about teaching us life skills too. And it's stuff that I would have never learned. So I really appreciate Craig for allowing us to do this. And for real, if anybody needs an internship or is looking for one, reach out to Craig on LinkedIn, right? I guess on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's the best place. That's where I live.
Reach out on LinkedIn, and he's awesome. So I really recommend it.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Michael. Thank you for all the hard work that you put into the Young Professionals Network show. It really took it to the next level. And Luca, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We'll be in touch on how we can maybe help you do what you do, and we want to help you grow the Young Professionals Network across the country. And maybe some of those 40 interns we can maybe get 10 shows out of that in 2026. Just have them come on the show and tell us what they're doing.
Yeah. That would be awesome if we could, sort of do a feature of them. I think it would be great.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, guys. Well, thank y'all for coming on the show today. Really appreciate y'all, and y'all have a great rest of your week. Take care. Bye.
Behind every thriving park, every safe playground, every event-ready field, there's a team working before sunrise and long after sunset. This is Facility Maintenance, the only show created for and by the unsung heroes of parks and recreation. Brought to you by DPRS Media Co., where real work gets real recognition. From restrooms to rec centers, HVAC to turf tech, we go beyond the job site into the heart of operations that keep our communities moving. Our mission? To elevate maintenance teams through stories, solutions, and shared experience. Our vision? A world where every facility crew is seen, valued, and fully supported. Each episode features operators, innovators, and leaders, sharing tools, tech, and tactics that make the impossible look easy. Facility maintenance isn't just a job, it's purpose, it's passion, and now it's a show. Facility Maintenance, where tools meet purpose, where work becomes legacy. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the daily Parks and Rec show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility Maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.